Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by thanking the organizers, the Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association, for allowing me to present in this very important session dealing with management of waste and the blue economy. I'd like to present a rather short presentation highlighting some of the solid waste and marine litter management trends in the wider Caribbean region. Most of the information that I will present is from a recent State of Convention area report on marine pollution published by the Cartegena Convention Secretariat. And I'd like to begin with a headline that many of you might be familiar with that highlighted that the Caribbean islands are the biggest plastic polluters per capita in the world. And what has led to some of that high generation of plastic waste in the region? Most of our countries, again in the Caribbean, most of the islands are classified as high income, with a few being in the upper middle income range and one or two as low income countries. Traditionally, though, countries that would have a high income or high GDP would be ones that would be leaning more to the top end of this arrow in terms of either having very well developed solid waste management systems or already approaching more circular economy efforts. However, most of our countries are still very much at a disposal in open dump sites, a disposal in poorly managed sanitary landfills, and very limited recycling and reuse. What's also evident in countries in the Caribbean is a shift from traditionally what would be higher levels of organic or compostable waste, normally in the range from anywhere between 45 to 60%, to a higher levels of plastic waste. Again, this is somewhat contributed to by a heavy dependence on tourism, as well as a significant amount of importation of packaged material, with most of this packaging also being plastic. The estimates are significant. The resident population of the wider Caribbean region is estimated to have generated 79 million tons of solid waste, of which 1.3 million tons of plastics were introduced into coastal waters. We made an attempt in that same State of Convention area report to estimate the amount of waste generated not just by resident populations of 663,000 tons, but also by tourists in the Eastern Caribbean, and that averaged about 7% of the total waste, or about 49,000 tons. What this means is as we start to develop and improve our waste management systems, it means that we have to take active account not just of our resident population, but our visitors. Challenges in Latin America and the Caribbean: 145,000 tons per day of waste are disposed of in open dump sites. Open dump sites which often, through runoff, through movement within our surf rivers and gullies, contributes directly to coastal and marine pollution. And of this 145,000 tons, at least 17,000 tons per day of plastics. This is an example of a model that is currently being finalized, which demonstrates the movement of plastics from Africa across the Atlantic into the Caribbean. And it really shows how much the Caribbean Sea is at high risk from the impacts of plastics and microplastics. That has resulted, in fact, through modeling, that the number of floating plastic, microplastics, and macroplastic particles in the wider Caribbean was estimated to be about 82,000 and 5,000 pieces per kilometer squared, making it one of the highest plastic concentrations in the world as through the Caribbean Sea. Why are microplastics such a challenge? Microplastics absorb organic pollutants from the surrounding seawater and can deliver harmful chemicals to marine fauna and humans. And a small study that was facilitated through our regional node for marine litter, which is jointly hosted by the Gulf and Caribbean Fisheries Institute and the Cartegena Convention Secretariat, Microplastic particles were found in 41 of the 42 digestive tracts of 7 species of commercially exploited marine fish. This was just a small study, but I think it demonstrates the risk that also our fisheries is at from continued plastic pollution. As we look now towards what does this mean in terms of cost? And the natural capital cost of plastic use per year is in the billions of dollars, caused by pollution of the marine environment or air pollution caused by the incineration of plastics. And this is at the global level. And in fact, a significant amount, 30% of natural capital costs of plastics are due to greenhouse gas emissions from raw material extraction and processing. And what I'd like to emphasize here is that too often we are looking at it at the end of pipe. We are looking at it at the disposal stage. And really to address this issue of waste management and maximizing it in the context of a blue economy means we also need to look upstream. So the total economic damage to the world's marine ecosystems, according to UNEP, from plastics is well over 15.5 billion, with the major losses to fisheries, tourism, and the cost of beach cleaning. So what do we need to do to respond? We need to look at promotion of the elimination of problematic or unnecessary plastic packaging and other products. We need to encourage reuse models where relevant to reduce the need for any kind of single-use packaging, but in particular plastics and or their products. And then we need to incentivize, whether it be reusable, recyclable, or compostable packaging. In some cases, the use of compost, for example, produced at the national level. We need to increase and improve our collection, sorting, reuse, and recycling rates. In order for us to really generate a circular economy, we have to improve basic collection, basic transportation, and disposal. And that will mean that we need to facilitate improvements in infrastructure and the mechanisms of sustainable funding and cost recovery. And then we have to work on the general public. We need to stimulate that demand for recycled products and including persons to refuse a use of certain materials. So that's just a snapshot, just a little idea of what some of the issues are that we may have to deal with within the broader aspect of waste management. And I look forward as to how we can discuss this in a little bit more detail as we really look at new blue, green, and circular economy approaches. Thank you very much.